Planetary Qualifiers, Week 3, meta-analysis. Is Han the new best deck? Better than Boba? Let's check it out. Hey, what's up? It's your boy, Bobby Sapphire, and I am here with Justin and my brother, KTOD Maddie, to talk about Planetary Qualifier, Week 3 meta-analysis. Boys, is Han the best?
He's certainly up there. He's proven his worth.
He had a good weekend.
Yeah, Han crushed it this weekend, man. Those Han boys work really well together from what I've heard on the background, and like they know their lines. And like watching some of Alex's play, that dude is just playing it different, man. So deck's good.
Yeah, and I'll be the first to say in this call, but I've been told many times this weekend that I was totally wrong about how hard I was on Han 1 yellow. And I just didn't think it was that good, but I think it's one of those decks that we've talked about this a lot on the podcast and in our videos, that like once you see it unlocked, it's like, oh, I get why this is so good. And I saw some of that when I was playing against Alex a few weeks ago at our 1K, and like continued to see it over the course of the last few weekends, where he's done insanely well with the deck, and so have several others, including like the crew of people he works on. They have like a secret. It's not secret, but like a yellow Han cabal.
The lab, cool. The Han lab.
Yeah, the Han lab.
Yeah. I think it's made some changes from Gen Con, and they've definitely figured out some lines. And like, you know, even though I think the Boba matchup is hard, I think we just saw this week, especially we weren't in Massachusetts, in New York. There was not a lot of green Bobas, so
no, there
it was
certainly
a good week
weren't.
to play it.
Yeah, we were right on the podcast, our Thursday night cast. I think we had the meta nailed pretty well. All right, now let's take a look at the winners from this weekend. We had 10 PQs on Saturday, and then there was one in Bologna that got canceled due to flooding. I don't know the whole story there, but I know that the community held an event sort of like what the people had come to town, and looks like people were able to play, and that the damage isn't too bad from what I heard. But as we can see on this slide, there is a lot of yellow and a good amount of green, and then a bunch of red and blue sprinkled in. So what do you guys think about 5? So this is 5 Bobas winning out of 10.
Yeah, I think even on a weekend where we're saying like Han is, you know, in our estimation is like now cracking that top level, and so it's been there for a while, but we're finally recognizing it. It's still Boba that takes 5 out of 10, and like this, like you guys were in Clifton, and you're like, oh, there wasn't that much Boba, and there was a few other posts that were like, oh, Boba's down a little bit this week, but it's still like Boba's the best deck.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, I think that we just saw like a very regional thing, like for whatever reason, like this northeast part of the country loves their Sabine, and we had just so much Sabine, which like was crazy, because then a Boba would feast, and I think I saw like there was probably like 5, if that, green Bobas in the field. Like I'm not even like, which is kind of crazy given today's meta. And when that happens, obviously Yellow Han will eat. But yeah, I think like that's the cool thing about this game right now, is it's still very regional, so you're gonna see little iterations on the meta.
Yeah, and it's kind of been fun with people sort of traveling, because there's been so few PQs, people traveling far. You know, like there were 6 Bosks at this event, and I played 2 of them. And I've talked to a local, and he was like, yeah, my local loves Bosk. And like, I never would have known that, never would have predicted it. Even if I did, I don't know if I would have. Well, I probably wouldn't have cut all the confiscates from my sideboard the morning of, but you know, these things happen.
But it would have been cooler if we were able to see PQ Seville with the Tarkin green. That was very, very close to happening. I wouldn't call it a punt, but it was an unfortunate sequence in Game 3 that caused the Tarkin player to not have lethal based upon playing Barrage to kill something, which then turned Luke on with a -6. Where if he just attacks first, I think he probably wins pretty easily.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like, you know, either being on stream or being in these late rounds, like, you know, like the things that happen inside your brain. Like, I mean,
and sequencing is hard. There's like, I've been thinking a lot about like making some sequence videos, just about like some of the more complicated sequencing decisions you have to make and how you can force things, and it's pretty interesting. But I guess like getting back to these winners, we did see like a slight rise in red blue. You know, this slide last week only had one red blue deck, and now we've got 3 here with Boss
Three,
Blue,
yeah.
or maybe it had 2, but like, and then Akira takes it in Salt Lake City, that was an all
That was a Kira final, yeah.
So that was cool.
2 of the boys from the Kira thread. That was cool to see.
Nice.
Yeah, and just in general, lot of boba. I actually put all the top 8s together, all the Swiss top 8s from the Star Wars competitive hub, the SWU competitive hub, and just kind of like, it's pretty crude because I didn't break down like every leader by color, but out of the 10 top 8s this weekend, 31 appearances of boba. 13 of them were either green or ECL, and then 11 were boba yellow, and then there was 10 Sabine green. One said it was actually green and not ECL, but there's a lot. There's not like consistency among these. It's like they're all spelled differently and stuff. So I did my best, but it does count out to 80. So, but a lot of boba, and then a good amount of Han. But so 9 Han top 8s, Han 1 yellow top 8s. I thought was like a pretty staggering amount for something that we knew a few good players have been on it, but now it is like it's starting to really spread.
Yeah.
I mean, like boba being 24, not even including the Tarkin Town, just the yellow and the green being 24, and then like everything that's not boba, Han, Kira, or Sabine is much less than that combined. Like every other leader, like even like, you know, you got, it's like cool to see one Gar. I wish that some of these would crack through.
Yeah, get a win.
Like it'd be really cool if they. I mean, like the Kira got a win and like the Rey got a win, but those are already pretty established.
Yep.
It'd be cool if like we saw that Tarkin win, or we saw the Gar Saxon win, or a Palp win. It'd be a little bit refreshing, because it is like, as we're covering these meta recaps, like Boba again, and
I mean, he's just far and away. Like the thing is, like it's just so crazy. He's just so good. Like
no doubt.
He's just such a good leader. He's just insane stats. He can play, you know, Barrage or Cunning, pick your poison. They're both insane things to pair with him. And then he's got the Boba's armor. Like he's just, from a value perspective, like it just makes so much sense why everyone's on him. And it's cool to see, like, you know, the Kira's win and the Han Blue. I think those are good ways to combat the meta. But like he is keeping a lot of stuff down, to Justin's point of like, it would be cool to see those things. It's just like, how do you just beat that consistent value every game?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it would be nice to see a few more spikes. We had, you know, like a Rey Tarkin Town win 1 the last 2 weeks. I would have liked to see, you know, a little bit more of that, or even just like you said, just all these kind of random ones. It's just overwhelming how much boba there. And
like when you see a random one crack it, you like really are rooting for it. Like it'd be cool if Gar Saxon won, and people would look and say, "Where's that list?" You know, top 8's cool, but like winning is really kind of established.
I know, and even today I was on the hunt for the last winner list, and it was Boba Green, and everyone I talked to was like, it was a standard Boba Green list, and you know, I did end up getting it, but it was just sort of like, there's nothing new to see here. And when I cover the winning list later, it's more going to be about shouting out the people who did it, and not necessarily like this person had Cobb Vanth, great, you know, like what do? You find like the one card no one else has.
That's one of the problems with this game, is that, and I think a lot of games have it, but like there's sort of there's like viable options on card choices that it's cool when you're like getting ready for the tournament, but it's not all that exciting. You know what I mean? Like the representation of the changes, like the Boba decks that play Zuckuss, the Boba decks that play, we said Steadfast Battalion come back a little bit, the Boba decks that play Cobb Vanth, the Boba decks that play Sindagalaki versus Bosk, Waylay numbers versus. The McClunky thing was cool. Like that was certainly different. I think when Alex first brought it and he's like 30, that was cool. That was like a cool innovation. But it just doesn't feel that like, oh man, like this is like so like next level, you know, strategy wise how we're going to play it. I could be just not reading it right, but it doesn't feel. And I know like we went with CJ losing in the finals. We went and Tata losing in top 8. Like we went with our Sabines, like no Darksaber this weekend. But it doesn't feel, I don't know, there's just something missing from like that old sort of Magic Pro Tour, like, you know, oh, I can't believe they brought this to the event, and there's like that excitement there, chatter. It doesn't feel like that.
Yeah.
Well, there's only 2 sets. I mean, I know there's a
Yeah.
ton of leaders, but like that's the thing is like it's the card pool. You know, like we're still playing like a 2-set block format. Like if I go back to like my Magic
a
the
good
Gathering
point.
days and in your time on the Pro Tour and Mike is the PTQ end boss, right? Like there were so many sets. Like you could really
Yeah,
innovate.
that's
So
true.
like, we're just in the early stages of a game. So
Yeah.
like,
And the format's rotated too, which made
yeah.
it even more interesting.
yeah. So like I get that angle. Like
I'm excited
I
for
want to
set
see
3.
some more. I think that the 2 things are it's like low sets and then like there's just a clear, very strong leader that's gatekeeping a lot of the game. So
Yeah, we have one
yeah.
one more week of PQs, and then there's one PQ on the 2nd that got delayed because of the hurricane.
Right.
So we're almost out of the Boba
Is that
Woods
legal?
here.
Set 3 legal or no?
No, it's not because the official
man.
set release isn't until November 8th, Maddie's birthday.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a
boy.
shame.
But it will be
I would
pre-release
have
weekend.
I would have flown wherever that was to play set 3.
Just
That'd
to
be
play
cool.
set 3, dude. I started brewing today. I'm pretty
I'm
excited about
hyped
it.
for it.
All right, shout out to Pasquale who top aided the New York PQ for
Yeah.
making his spreadsheet once again. This is the total tops slide where he was very receptive online last week to some of the suggestions that I and others made. Like he added a hero and villainy leader type, and I think one of the things I'd asked was like base type. Oh no, yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted the leader type. Yeah, that went with I wanted it correlated to the bases. Oh, he did do it here. Villain green, 20%. Cool. So we get some further breakdown of, are we getting a lot of hero or are we getting a lot of villain? Because I was suspecting that it was mostly villain outside of Sabine, and it does look pretty good but the Han Yellow rise has definitely skewed those numbers quite a bit here.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But we do see 62% of leader types in top 8s from the 3 weeks of PQs has been 62%.
And I mean, villain green makes sense. You have super laser tech and
Yeah. No, for
Barrage,
sure. I mean,
like,
it's got
those
some
are
of the
good
best,
cards.
no doubt, some of the best stuff.
Yeah.
And then when you like cross like the 85 with 34 Sabine and 23 Han, and then even 15 Red Han, like it's pretty top loaded at those guys, and everything else kind of falls way down. But these are some at least interesting numbers, and it's cool to break it down. And I'll have this slideshow linked in the show notes so people can check it out and kind of like delve in themselves. But is there anything? I mean, obviously, Boba and Villain Green are at the top by a wide margin. But is there anything else? This is just another way to present the data we already had. I guess another one that's kind of interesting is like set 1 leader tops is 71%. Shadows of the Galaxy leaders are at 30%.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. The Sparks leaders are just kind of cracked, and then you get like a couple good ones from the new set. But
yeah, it's just like the percent. I mean, it's like Boba and the villain lead, like the blue green control villain cards versus like Sabine and Han and Rey. I guess it's like you're just outnumbered. So these all make sense.
Yeah, no, it all tracks, and it's cool that he broke it down that way to just like further to further see like the point that we kind of felt, to like, okay, it is actually tracking the way we thought.
All this data, they're so small in number that like you can't really do anything else but talk about it trend wise and not put too much stock in it. But it does make for like at least some interesting visuals. And then I just, have to shout out Security Complex, who has absolutely zero representation.
You hate to see it.
Hero mono
you just
red.
hate to see it. Yeah, I mean, when one base gets ambushed and one base gets a shield.
Yeah, it's rough times. And then this is another way to break down the data even more, just like looking at the leaders and their top 8 and win percentages. And of course, like still Boba at the top with green having 39 of the top 8s and yellow having 32. I do kind of wish you guys were like we were doing the whole thing now, because it's interesting to look at the 2 Boba yellow decks that won this weekend. Neither one of them had main deck phantoms, and that is absolutely shocking to me. And one even won in the finals against a Boba green.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, the only thing I'd say, and phantom's so cracked, but I guess like if you can't pump it, it does lose a little, like, it loses like a little bit. If you can't like put a freaking because
you can't put 7/1/1 counters on it like Justin was doing all week.
Yeah, no, seriously. But I think the one cool thing to bring up is like the rise of the Boba Red, like the Justin's first set 2 deck.
God.
Just came out of the woodwork, dude.
The
Again.
Space Rush, like everyone
we had
wanted to play.
two.
Like our buddy Nick, he top
Nick
aided
did
the
well.
New York
He took me
PQ
down.
with
That was like our Gen Con, like triple Dark Raid energy, and
Yep.
we thought like Ray would be bigger, and we didn't pursue it because Ray was just like moisture farmering and attacking and gaining life, and we were like, yeah, we can't
beat
we
it.
can't kill Ray, and we're like, we're playing against Keenan and Yoda and moisture farmers. We're just gaining like 8, and it doesn't
it's just
work.
like
Yeah, I mean,
Dude,
I was really happy with my deck choice this weekend. I just didn't get through the C to hit all these space and aggro.
Yeah,
decks.
you just got really unlucky. The funny thing I did was 2 minutes before the tournament started, I took out my Consortium Star Vipers out of my 60, and then I lost to the space deck, and I was like,
no, you were loving that card too.
Yeah,
The
no,
interesting
I just
stat
got
line
topped
here,
off it by a million people. Like I should have trusted my gut, which I will from now on. But yeah, it's all good.
Stat line here that I always think this is interesting is like conversion rate once you top 8.
Yep.
And like ECL Boba being very high, 50% is cool. And then you look at like Sabine, 2 out of 30, and that sort of makes sense with this Boba world. Like we've been saying that like Sabine's going to top 8 because it's very powerful, but it's just really hard to beat. Like
close it.
Two Boba decks. It's gonna be hard. You can get one. You can get that like good draw, and you can get like your sequencing, and they don't draw the barrages and ramp spells. But like to do that back to back matches is really hard. And to do that, like you could theoretically play Boba in 3. So like that's interesting. And then you look at like the Han, like 2 out of 17 is relatively low, but it's better than 2 out of 30. And then you look at like Ray, like Mike, you had mentioned that you liked your Boba matchup, and you can sort of think of like the top 8 as sort of essentially being Boba, like even though it's not. Like 2 out of 10, like that sort of makes sense that they would get there. So it's interesting to see and then a whole bunch with 0, right? Like we talked about that earlier. Like a Palpatine makes it, but then
but doesn't crack.
It's not gonna get there. So I always think that's sort of a pretty important stat line. You look at like 32 Boba Yellows made it, but only 4-1.
Yeah, because they just hit that wall. I thought the ECL deck too. I thought the ECL Boba was such a good call, and we were almost played it. Like
we almost
to go for the steadfast tech, and I thought that actually, who knows if it would have been that good though, because there's no freaking Boba
at ours at least.
Yeah, but I think it's cool to see that conversion rate because it's like Justin said, you got to prepare to hit the other Bobas. Well, now you have, in my opinion, a pretty big edge in the mirror.
Yeah, and this is all cool. I do wish though we had limitless that we could actually like have card data too.
Yeah.
Because like we'd have a data point for smuggling Starfighter because Nick had 3 in his deck and he.
Yep.
And it would be cool to break those down further, and I hope that Melee does adapt to that. Before we break from all this data talk, is there anything you guys want to say before we end it?
Love to see that Akira got there, baby. Let's go.
Looking forward to set 3.
Yeah.
And it was Akira 30, by the way. Just
looking forward to set 3. We probably will do one more of these maybe next week. I guess maybe not because there'll be nothing to look forward to. So we'll see. We'll have our pre-release kits by then. So all right, I'm gonna take a look at all the winning lists and shout out the winners right now. All right, time to take a look at the winning list starting in Berlin, where one of the KTOD subscribers, Sobek, won with Bosk Blue. This deck has been obviously terrorizing as the control deck of choice for many. Biggest innovation I've seen here from following the Blue Bosk thread in our Discord is the Clan Saxon Gauntlet Sentinel ship. That's been really good to weaponize your other units and also just like present that 4 or 5 body, which usually takes a couple hits. And then the craziest innovation to me is the main deck Redemption, just dropping 10, healing 8. Seems insane, but then it works, and it's like still a beat stick that swings for 8 because most decks can't handle even a 6/1 ship in space sometimes. So there that is. Wanted to shout out Sobek. Great win by him. And then the other thing that came out of Berlin was like some drama. If you don't know Lothar is like an old school gaming pro. This is his game of choice right now. He's been playing Star Wars Unlimited and making content for it. He got a round 1 bye because his opponent didn't show up, and the TO put the the gaming wrong. And long story short, it never got fixed, even though he brought it up many, many times. I've included an image of him talking about this. You can go to his YouTube channel. It'll be posted in the description, as well as Sobek's post on Reddit about corroborating everything that happened. One of my hesitations was, I know Lothar, but I would like two people to kind of tell me the same story, and Sobek had the same thing to say, which is a little spooky in this world where store owners have a lot of power. So I hope that FFG gets contacted about this and everything gets sorted out, but it shouldn't be hard to make standings and fix them up in Melee or anything else. So we're going to see a little bit more drama in the next one, but please go check out Lothar's video, hear it from him. And if you feel the same way that he does, then I think you should contact FFG as well. We had another one of our subscribers, Alex Blandon, who I've mentioned on this channel several times already because he and I drove down to the last PQ together. He's been playing the same deck pretty much since I met him, and finally took down a PQ. There was very little green boba at our PQ, and he was able to run the tables. I think he only lost one game of Swiss. He did his favorite move, which is to go 6-0 and then concede the last round to take an hour break. So we hung out. Me, him, and Chrono, who's my teammate. He beat Chrono in the finals on Sabine, so that was streamed. And you see that he's going with a Rebel package with C-3PO, who he didn't really get to play in previous weeks because he just didn't cast it. It's one of those times where you just don't draw the card, and he said C-3PO absolutely over-delivered. Alex unlocked the tier of the Patreon where I drive you home because he didn't want to drive home alone. So I drove his car for him, and that way he didn't have a 3.5 hour ride alone. So we get to talk about the DC universe and some Star Wars cards, but congratulations to him. You should definitely go watch the stream games on mute to see how insane he plays the deck. He's a really good card player from other games, and I think as I said in the earlier segment, watching a really good player play this deck is super strong. There was some drama at ours as well that one of the judges was sitting next to a game that went to double loss in the final round, and when one of the opponents, one of the players got up, the other guy put it in as a win for him, even though the judge was right there, and they had all confirmed the double loss, and that led to a lot of drama for this PQ. And then the top 8 pairings when they went to top 4 got screwed up multiple times, so it's just a little scary right now. That and this is something Alex and I talked about a couple weeks ago before all this went down. It's just the store owners have a lot of power right now over OP because there's no there just doesn't seem to be oversight like there are in other games. So that's a concern, and I just one to keep an eye on. I'm not like a doomsayer or anything, but I don't love some of the stories that came out of this weekend. It has me a little worried about the legitimacy of OP right now. Also in Seville, Spain, we saw a Han 2 Blue take down that PQ. He's rocking Carabast here. I don't have the it's Raf. It's Raf. Raphael. I did have the list. I'm not trying to dig into these lists too much. I'm just trying to find the spice. One of the reasons that my team was off Darksaber in their Sabine list is because of things like the Disabling Fangfighter main deck and all the Confiscates main deck that were popping up this week. So shout out to this Han blue deck. Love to see Mace, and just love all these red-blue cards. That's why I play Ray. All right, so we have Dave Hoyland, who some of you may know from his podcasting days, but the yellow boba I mentioned earlier, one of the yellow bobas, he defeated a boba green in the finals and didn't have any Lurking Ties main, which I thought was a really good way to get ahead of boba green this weekend. He has 3 Forlom, only 1 Zekis. I'm always interested to see what the split is there. And then he also has Boba Fett and Toro and Bodhi, so he's just got the max 3 drops, which is something I also like. And there's a bunch of splits between what people are doing with this list and other lists. Obviously Justin mentioned earlier that nothing's too groundbreaking, but it's interesting to just look at these numbers when they win. It's one Bazine with 3 Crafties. A lot of people have been off Crafty. So we're seeing once again the power of cunning. A lot of mono yellow decks, but he does have those phantoms in the board, which I really, really love. And I'm still in love with yellow boba. I sometimes wish that I sleeped it up for the weekend. And then, we jump right from that to Toulouse, and there's a lot of similarities between that list and this list. this player that won the Toulouse, France PQ, he decided to go with Bazines in the board completely, but both the full complement of Boba and Toro in the main deck, which I really, really like, along with the Forlom and Zuckuss for that Bounty Hunter package. He opts to go with Syndicate Lackeys, probably a response to all the Han decks, the Rebel Han decks that are playing 3/5s, a bunch of 3/5s. And he has 2 Boba Fett's armor and 2 Hotshot Blaster here. Yeah, so, and then, the shoot downs in the sideboard. I don't know about shoot down in a deck like this. I haven't messed with it in Boba Yellow, but I know from playing like super wide, like super vertical Phantom decks that swoop down is just an absolute game winner. And I do love camo cards and A New Adventure. I love Mono Yellow, if you didn't know that. I just like love all these cards. Then Ray. So Sir Bostwick here with the Ray win. I'm pretty sure this is exactly the Rodney Stubbs list. If you were a subscriber to my KTOD Patreon, I'm saying mine, but it's a bunch of us, obviously. We had a guy in our community write a deck list, sort of like product for people to get for free, or if like you're not a subscriber and you just want to buy it, you could buy his whole deck breakdown. I'm pretty sure this is the list that he recommended for the weekend. I know some of the things like the 2 Restored Arc and the 2 Conquered Dawn Interceptors really jump out at me as things that are in Rodney's deck. But this is a really strong deck. Ray Red was the deck that I probably played the most over the last 2 weeks. The deck I was planning to take to my store showdown, but when I kind of got the read that it was going to be more aggro and less Boba, I swapped from Ray Red to Ray Blue, and I like Ray Blue into an aggro meta, and I like Red Ray into like a control Boba meta. And honestly, I thought Red Ray was such a good choice for this weekend. I'm surprised only one broke through, but there were like 13 at this PQ. So we're seeing the influence of Rodney Stubbs's championing of the deck. Then I also want to shout out another one of our subscribers. This is Seamus Kyle, who won in the finals against it was a Kira Green Mirror. He elected to go for the 30-point base. That's something that's like been hotly not contested, but like debated, I guess is the best word, in our Kira Green forum over the last few months. And we see, all of the standard, I guess like the biggest things that jump out at me if we're like looking what makes this list different is the no Devastator main, but 2 Relentless. He's got a Dooku here, which I think is like really spicy and underplayed. I really like Dooku, and I think in set 3 we're going to be seeing a lot more Dooku. Spoilers. And the 3rd Vigilance here, which is really, really strong. And then just that Entrenched, like really coming in handy. I know like some people have been off Entrenched because of all this Confiscates and the Fang Fighters in the meta, but it still is really, really great both on your Sentinels and on their guy, like their problem unit, until you can get rid of it with the Super Laser Blast, which he's got one of. So sweet list there. We've got ONG, the Seattle winner, the first Boba Green we're going to look out at today. We had a bunch of subscribers in that top 8. Shout out to Gandor, who top 8'd with Gar. Saxon Yellow, shout out to Ace, who was also in that top 8. Sorry, I just remembered all the other people I forgot to shout out earlier, so I'm going to go back and do that in a second. We see that innovation of Kintan Intimidator that the McClunky boys put in their list last weekend show up here again, and otherwise, similarly standard things to look at, but only 2 Boba's Armor 3 Hotshot Blaster, 2 Bosk 3 Lackeys, 2 Vader, which I really like, cutting a Vader in these decks, and no Chew Sides in the board, which I thought was pretty interesting. I'm going to take a look at the Baltimore list, which I think is like pretty spicy. This is another one of our subscribers. I didn't put the asterisk there because I found out very late that he was one of our subscribers, but he did get me his list. I love the toolbox that he has for his Vader. Very reminiscent, I think I mentioned this last week, of set 1 Vader pulling a cell block guard, but we've got a TIE Phantom, a Black Sun Starfighter, and a Phase Trooper all to be pulled off the Vader. He's got the full complement of Vader Maul and Reinforcement Walker, so he was prepped for the control meta, and we did see, along with my teammate John Tata, who made top 8 with Sabine, we saw X-Wing legend Duncan Howard, who's a super nice guy, and it was really great to see him on stream dominating again. So we get to watch him play on stream for the first time. And I've known he was into the Star Wars Unlimited world, but giving me flashbacks to my X-Wing days. So, King Conroe, he came prepared for that meta, and he has like all the anti-control stuff. And he also said that Frozen Carbonite was insane for him all weekend. So shout out to that technology going on all those phantoms, which people brought to beat the Boba Green menaces. So finally, we have Stefan, who some of these lists got sent to me and I had to build them out, but won the Montreal PQ with Boba Green as well, and he was ready for control in the sense of Cobb Vanth, which is another, that was some hot tech that came out of the UK a couple months ago, maybe like 6 weeks ago, right after Gen Con. So we haven't seen many people doing that lately. They've opted to go for sort of like a more aggressive hand control and then like turn the corner with Vader Maul damage. But we see Cobb Vanth here sort of getting off the bounty hunter plan and just being ready to deploy another unit after a super laser blast to keep the damage coming. And again, people moving off choose sides this weekend, which I'm really surprised about. I know like people like a lot of people get blown out by choose sides, and it's not super easy to play around. Even if it makes your opponent take a turn off to kill your Salacious Crumb, it sometimes saves you like 4 or 5 damage, enough to get back into the game. So I was really surprised because I really like that technology of the choose sides in those decks, and that's it. But I do want to hop back to this one to shout out my teammate Chrono, who made the finals, which I think I did mention, but my neighbor Nick, my former neighbor Nick, who made top 8 with Boba Red and Smuggler Starfighters in the deck, in the sideboard. We had another one of our subscribers, Ron Matos, who made top 8. We actually had 6 out of the 8 in our Discord for the cut, so that was really great. Getsu, who top 8'd the New Jersey region PQ a couple weeks ago with Blue Boba. He was running it back. He lost to Alex in the top 4. And all in all, it was just a great event. Other than some like judging snafus, the store was cool. It was cool to have like half the field were KTOD subscribers and just people that I've known forever playing. Shout out to Aaron Northrup, who I used to play Star Wars CCG with 30 years ago, 25 years ago or whatever. So it was great seeing him again. It was like totally blindsided me, and it was just a great event and a great weekend. And I know like people are down on PQs. I am not. I O2'd and I'm not down on PQs. Like I'm ready. I'm loving the game, and I just hope that everyone else is too. But it's set 3 time now, baby. So let's check out set 3. See you next week. I'm out.